Let's get started on the subject, guys.
So, yeah.
Delta for beginning.
Yeah.
She's busy.
Why?
So, what are we doing today?
We're talking about our projects.
Yes.
'Cause I kind of need that
Yeah, exactly.
desperately.
The term papers are due in 9 days on Friday 9th, whatever we did the date of. Last day before
Next week, Friday?
Yes.
The term papers are due, and then we're peer review.
Yes.
Okay.
And you will not, you and myself will be not the only peer reviewers. I'll invite a couple of experts.
Oh boy.
It will be your benefit.
Okay.
So you get some constructive criticism to improve the papers, and final grading will be based like on improved versions. So
And that's what goes in that booklet.
The departmental secretary.
Bonnie?
I love Bonnie.
Yeah, me too.
She's so nice.
She did reserve the Thursday 15th, December 15th, from 11 to 1:30. Yes, is it good for everyone? Should we start? Like 11 is a little better, but if you want to start at noon, I'm okay.
That's fine. That should be fine.
On
Okay.
Thursday? Or
Yeah,
Wednesday?
Thursday.
Okay.
The 15th.
Yes, 15th. Sam, I'll ask Fred.
Order?
What?
I'm good. I only have like one final, and it's at like 3:30 to 5:30.
When?
3:15 to 5:15 p.m. that same day, but that should be fine.
There you go.
Yeah, 3:30 p.m.
I think you all have the same schedule.
Yes.
You need to check with Fred because you might.
Fine, I
Okay.
at like 3 anyway.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
All opposed?
Aye.
The motion passes.
Nay.
I'll put some entertainment on slides, but there will be an important question that we need to.
I'm kind of listening.
No, you can speak yourself. So the most of our remaining 40 minutes will be just pure fun. But out of this fun, there will be an important question. What is a parameter that each of you change continuously? So you are so advanced, so great and educated, and your projects are so diverse this year, then it's hard for me to give like same instructions for everyone. And there will be different parameters to modify. For Elsa, it is simple. It's just change electric field. So her question is clear. But for others, we need to discuss. Okay? And when we will discuss which parameter to change, then lift up your ears. Okay. So the meeting that I'm showing right now is a little too early. It should be presented at the time when all results are ready and recorded, and one needs only to explain them in writing. But there are different scheduling things. We do have second last or last lab. So if you have heads up of what is expected, probably you'll tailor your effort better. So term papers. Fortunately or unfortunately, you and I are not the first people in the world civilization who need to write term papers, and even not the first people who need to speak publicly. Right? So it's quite common activity, and there are some philosophical reflection, how to think about it, and even some protocols, some suggestions, some tips from ancient philosophers. In different parts of the world, there were different culture of thinking, but it exists in all cultures. We, in some sense, follow the Romans and Greeks, therefore I show them, but if one look for other cultures, one will see similar things. So Greeks are more observers and they just declare what people are doing, right? So one is going to speak in public, one needs to like design what to speak, how to present, how to arrange different parts, and this is the hardest part, different parts of the talk, because without logic it will be just it's so exciting, and no one understands what actual message is, and like even how to memorize. But this is all. Sam, are you attracting attention or no?
Definitely not. He's just coughing.
Okay,
I'm just out here trying to survive. I'm alive.
So the arrangement is most challenging part, and Romans were more practical, and one of their philosophers and practical speaker left several instructions. So any public speech has 3 goals. Eva, I apologize. I was having my ears unplugged when you guys were talking to each other.
Oh.
Maybe I've heard something that I shouldn't heard. But I heard that you were attending some special high school.
Me? Catholic school?
Yeah. Which means you likely studied Latin.
I did.
Okay.
Did you really? Oh my god.
So now it is a minute of glory for Emma. Please read and teach us what is on the board.
Yeah, come on, Ava. What's it say?
Yeah. I mean, the translation's on the bottom.
But just how to pronounce, because we do not have a live Roman people, and we do not know how to pronounce it correctly.
Probably delicatare.
Well, Patricia, no.
Do you know Latin?
No, I also want to see countries. Well, we do have classes. No.
Okay, just try something.
C makes a step or a cut.
Even in modern, like you be like chill, like wine, Chianti.
Delectare,
Wine, Italian wine, Chianti.
volere.
But delectare da cere movere.
Wait, say it again.
So,
No.
you try. Patricia, can you try? But the first thing is any public speech should be fun, right? To those who listen. Second, that since people are curious, it should contain some new. And the third one, to move. Well, not like dance. It is public. Like what are examples of public speeches from ancient times? So it is like attorney convincing judge, or like this duty to take right decision, right? Or the military leader on a white stallion in front of the army, telling guys kick their butt. So, right? So moving on, making anyone to make some activity, right? When you present, you want your colleagues to do that your scientific discoveries are correct, or something like that. So there was a challenge, like if we have collected all data, or in ancient is if you are military leader, you have the army, you know the goals, why you want to conquer territory or defend your territory, you have clear mind, but you need to present it in the right way, or if you have to, and put it in a logical way. And these ancient philosophers did design a way that would achieve the goals in a best way, so that you please teach and move people to do right things. So I think we should alternate. Eva, Patricia. There are 6 words to read. So the first, Eva, please read the first one.
So, what's the blue one?
Yeah.
Exordium.
Okay. So it means like to attract the attention from the first word, so that people stay speechless, open mouth, and listen, and do not fall asleep. Right?
Okay.
Start something. No way I'm ever able to follow the ancient philosophers, but like an example from previous lectures, giving like image of a star. Although we do not need stars, we need like quantum levels of hydrogen. And you, right?
Yes.
Um,
Stars of two.
okay, Patricia, the second one. Just try. There are no allied Romans who can correct you.
Oh, the ratio.
Okay, yeah, thank you. You recorded and sent to Roman page.
Respectfully.
What is the Pokemon John? It's so
France.
Pokemon Francis, I think. Isn't it?
I chose. I don't know. No one calls him Pope John.
So the narration is
Oh.
Narration.
yes, but here it relates to.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Paul.
When you're reading and writing scientific papers in your big life, right? At least reading, at most writing, maybe both. So all papers do have introduction, and introduction does have credits to other researchers, like statement of the case. Like recent investigations show bright emission of a compound that can be used for 3D printers or for whatever bio labels, whatever there are credits to good people from 1 to 100, but a certain problem is still is not clear, lacking explanation. Therefore, we need to do something, right? So, or in ancient times, bad guys stole our statue. Go ahead and return it.
Yes.
Well, I'm just making up. Okay, so Eva reads the third section.
Cartesio.
Okay, so like bring it on parts, right? So when you are talking, and you did talks, right? If it is longer than 5 minutes, typically you anticipate that everyone in the audience has something better than listening to you. For example, to fall asleep. And even good people who want to listen, they want to like split their time between listening to you, reading emails on cell phone, and sleeping. And they need to know, like, is the talk you give 5 minutes or an hour? I can listen only for 10 minutes. Or one will be the interesting thing, and one will be the boring mumble. So you want to inform your audience of what to expect. So give table of contents, outline, like how the rest of your talk is chopped on logical units that are connected to themselves, right? So list the aspect that you want to cover, mention that you do have some methods to address them or some solutions, but not the actual things, but just declaring them. So organize your intellectual effort, right? You are to say something smarter.
No.
Or something different if you're humble.
No, I really. Next.
Patricia.
Oh,
Confirmed.
compromise.
Okay, so you all took calculus. Yeah? Most of normal people hate it.
I like.
Okay,
it.
okay. Some people. Okay, but let's put it in a respectable way. Normal people can tolerate it. Yeah. And the style of thinking in calculus differs from our regular life thinking, that it is organized to a perfection, to a higher degree than we typically organize our thoughts. And one of the examples is when we go over theorems. Instead of telling like a happy puppy, like, oh, it's so interesting here, it's interesting here is my prey that I hunted. And it is more or less normal way of thinking of regular people. And in theorems and calculus, they present, here's the theorem, here's the prey that I hunted, believe it or not. And now we'll spend 2 hours to prove it, right? So in some sense, this partition is declaring the answer, and then one needs to prove it by confirmation. And if it is a lawsuit, then you try to tell who is guilty and who is innocent and give arguments. If you're a scientist, you are starting to provide figures and tables and like, look here and here, you see this line is higher, therefore I'm correct, right? So the actual body of your thing, of your work or of your presentation. So yeah.
Confutatio.
Oh, that's the next one over there.
Okay.
Wrong. We did confirmatio.
We did.
I missed that one.
It's just a proof of my words. Every listener seeks an opportunity to. I apologize.
Only saw
So,
one people.
Did you read scientific papers, right?
Yes.
What goes between results and conclusions?
Analysis or discussion.
Yes. What do you put in discussion?
Interpretations of your results.
Yes, modern respectful scientists do this way. Ancient speakers are a little less gentle than we are. They assume, and if it is like opposing different groups of people, like military action or lawsuit, like it's competition, right? So the speaker anticipates that there will be part of the audience or the judge or whatever who doesn't share the same thoughts, and respectfully or irrespectively will try to oppose and say it's all wrong. Like if it will be a leader of the opponent army, they surrender, don't even start, right? Or if it is a judge, I see evidence. This victim came to me, was whining, therefore he or she was correct, independent of arguments. So I'm just giving some silly examples, but in science, someone told, "Oh, I do have Newton equation. I do not need your Schrodinger. You are wrong. I never saw this equation, therefore it's wrong." So this speaker anticipates that philosophically there will be people who disagree, right? And one needs to think ahead. What would be the major ways of disagreement, and prepare a way to fight them, to convince them, right? So, like in a chess, I chess. I do not play, but I have just basic ideas. Maybe some of you are good chess players. So people are thinking ahead and trying to predict the move of your opponent, and then design what will be the next move. So discussion is the same way. So you can guess what your audience may dislike, and you prepare how you will beat it ahead of time. So it will be not a surprise at last instant. Okay. Patricia?
Ratio.
Okay, so something connected to a mouse, like oral means speaking, per means through. It is just conclusions, right? To summarize everything, to conclude everything. And again, we all are so gentle to each other and other people. In ancient times, they were a little more, I like this last thing that we typically miss in our conclusions. So whoever disagree is,
Yeah.
is
You disagree, you're stupid.
yeah, you're a good follower of ancient speakers, and then induce positive feelings toward the speaker or to the case, right? So now you see the style of thinking of ancient. Now, how it is converted into your term papers. So abstract introduction methods without discussion conclusions. In 9 days, including that you have other classes, not all of you can completed the results, right? It will be quite short papers, but it is a good style to have all 6 sections. Maybe a couple of sentences, but just keep the style. And you see how nicely the readers will take it. And readers will be peers. You'll see, like a practical example is much better than any mumbling of an instructor. You read each other and you see, like, if someone is following these lines, it will be much easier to read and digest. If someone is not, he or she will experience criticism, telling like, I don't understand why you do this. Right? Among peers, no one will be like from all. You'll see. Yeah. And I wish that everyone will share only admiration to each other. But so why your system is interesting, what are open problems for your model, and here is a trick.
Ooh,
Trick that I cannot claim authorship for any of these things. They are as old as civilization. But I kind of realized it by looking on criminal stories, detectives. So if you need to write a detective story, right? Before you start writing, you already know who was right, who was wrong. You're hiding it from the readers, but you already know the answer, right? So your goal as an author is just to intrigue and attract attention. On one hand. On another, if you are proving a mathematical theorem, you can give the answer right away and just prove it. Or you can be in the middle. You can tell, here is the open question. We still need 5 million of federal funding and 5 years of research, but I guess here will be the right answer. And we need resources to prove it through computer simulations, through buying equipment and doing measurements, but like giving a hypothetical answer. And the word hypothesis is something that not particular researchers, but the research administrators love a lot. So if any of you follow the true research career, you need to secure extramural funding, begging federals for support, right? And the people, administrators, managers of these grants, they love very much if the grant has hypothetical answer, because you want to sell your research before it is done, and they do not know how to judge it. But if you tell, I'm not sure, but likely the answer will be this one, it is much easier to digest and to sell. And even if you already know the answer for your work, you can put it at the beginning, like it's supposing that you have all data, I organize my results, my paper this way. Here is an open question, here is a hypothetical answer. Readers, follow me to see if this answer right or wrong. It just helps because you'll see we all are busy thinking about other things, and just staying focused and attentive is not easy. It's maybe easy once, but if you need to read more than one paper, your attention will be scattered. And if the piece is organized, it's much easier for the reader. Method. Just put equations and explain it all symbols or whatever you do to the idea of the methods section is that a reader can reproduce the results if applying enough effort. Right? So it doesn't need to be all details, but sufficient details so that a person from a street can run same simulation and get the same results. Or if you would be an experimental class, run the same synthesis and characterization and get the same results. In previous years, there were several individuals who told we were given the code, we run it with these figures. It doesn't work this way. Each of the presenter, each of the authors is assumed to be a solely single author, responsible for each line of the code and each equation. So this argument will not work. You need to give basic principles, and our previous tenure in giving presentations of how code is working was preparing you to this. So do not tell like it is a black box I was given, I just pushed the button and go to sleep. Okay. Results and discussions. Time is limited, but you'll, even if you didn't start anything, you'll start only tonight. You'll get an abundance of figures. You'll have no idea how to squeeze them into short-term paper and how to explain them. So it is a challenge, major intellectual challenge that you address, right? So if you think about shortest paper, like 4 pages, and you do several runs, and each run generates figures, it's impossible. It's so one needs to probably design multi-panel figures and label them, and just guide reader like look at panel A, look at panel B, things like that. Just a little thing. So explain what is computed, why results look this way. So in a simplified way, results section is just a little guidance of eye of a listener. Look at this figure, this line, and observe that it goes up and down. In an oversimplified way. Can be connected with discussion. Conclusions declare like, look at me. I told you here is a hypothetical answer. This data shows that it was a correct answer. Right? So it makes, we know that it is a truth, but you'll see that it makes wonders. It creates very good impression. And then try to convince that results are trustable, valuable, things like that. This is the simplest figure for the whole class, for the whole course. Okay. So either in the introduction or in the conclusions, one needs to convince audience that your results are not only satisfy your personal intellectual curiosity, but also serve the community, especially if it is not a research paper who will be judged by other scientists, but if it goes to federal agencies. Like, why should we fund you to satisfy your own curiosity? Tell us how the life of simple people will be better. And I'm absolute baby in this. I will say absolutely silly things, but just attracting your attention that this question sometimes need to be addressed, and if you apply your intelligence, you may give a couple of words on the subject. What I'm showing here is truly silly, so I'm not inviting you to reproduce or follow this thing. It's only the attracting your attention. So the research and results generate applications, patterns, and then they go into industry and generate new materials, new machines, new processes, create like cell phones for simple people. People become happy, pay taxes to federal government sponsors science. Or like it could be generating the drugs, like creating unreadable by others watermarks on the banknotes. I just saw a researcher who does it, like putting metal organic lanthanide complexes into paper. They're not readable until you put it on the light, and they shine by different colors, so it's impossible to reproduce without special technology. If I realize that research I'm doing is so poor that it never brings to a new technology, but I want to get federal funding. How do I sell it? I know by doing this little exercise, we create workforce that can go to industry and help life of other people. Or if training that is done during things is so pathetic that it is not helpful to industry, though by fundamental education, we raise teachers who will, through education, teach high school and serve the community. You design something much better than the silly figure when it will be your time to explain how valuable your research is. Just have a seed of a thought that some people will need this answer.
Oh.
So it's just nature of research, right? It's just,
Dimitri's trying with the cameras.
so in previous years, I was requesting it as a homeworks. I'm kind of lazy and tired, but just keep it.
Sorry.
Yeah, maybe if you plan on having this thing done by Monday, you benefit. If you want, you can bring it to me for my feedback, but I don't care. Well,
Yeah.
it's recommended.
This isn't, oh, never mind. I saw the date at the top. It was from 2008.
Yeah, sure. 23, no, we are not yet in 23, 22. And whatever will be the Monday, you can count, right?
December 5th.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 divided by 5 divided by 22.
So these are all just figures.
Right. So when I was a very bad postdoc who was resisting and opposing any advice of the advisor. But I remember, I keep memories of what he was advising. So he was telling like, a lot of people start writing papers from introduction. Do not do it. If you do not have valuable final version of figures, there is no reason even to start typing a single word. So figures are first. Before you get result, how can you explain it? So suggested 7 figures, but it's a very creative free task. You do whatever you like. It's only suggestions. So first figure, schematic diagram. You just draw a pink pony and tells it symbolizes my model. You draw.
That's a blood.
That is good.
Schematic diagram. Okay. Light shines on a molecule, electron goes to electron, and then whoever of these objects is pink pony, who is a unicorn, is your decision. If you have potential energy, you can draw it. Eigenstates for the potential. We didn't focus on it in the labs, but the model is available in most codes, and I have a proof that Patricia is a couple of days before became an expert. So if you can consult this for this. And it is just a couple of lines added to the code. Eigenstates for the potential. Examples of typical dynamics. Since dynamics is typically a movie, you represent it in figures like a snapshot. population of the product state. If you're describing something that looks like a chemical reaction, then you can speak about population of reactant in product, and as the swap, it means the reaction yield is going on. So these examples for different conditions are very appropriate part of the results. Depending on how quickly reactant converts into the product, there is a time when it converts. So this time of transmission changes on initial conditions, and it not necessarily momentum, it can be temperature, voltage, and stuff. And dependence of the style on the parameter is the main result of your project. And what is a parameter is your main creative task to decide before 5 p.m. I'll try to assist in the remaining 5 minutes, but and some of you already know the answer. And if you are looking on the regular chemical reaction, you can, if your rate depends on temperature, you can feed it into a Arrhenius law and it will be beautiful. For some projects, it is different things. So, how do I do project if I would be in this class? So, select what is my parameter, select a value parameter, rerun the code, record observable, and repeat. Right? And then use these things to get figures. And then it will be the time to describe them. So code observables. So this is just 2 little lines, but I think it is most important practice we think of the projects and maybe of the whole class. So when you do research, you need to identify what is your perturbation, what is your parameter, what you're changing, and what is your response. Examples. Reaction rate as a temperature of your stove, chemical stove in labs. Yeah, hot plate. So you change temperature and reaction goes quicker.
Yes.
Example, right? Or very simple example, you change wavelengths and the absorbance changes. So it's maybe oversimplified, it's not worth of the whole project, but wait, you change parameter and you get response. Okay. For Sam, I think his parameter is distance between defects. So Elsa and Sam are done. So observables, rate of the reaction is the best observable. That's for some projects it can be different. So think about it. Maybe for Fred, the observable could be, again, it's your project, not mine. But I'm guessing if you're looking for formation of polaron of your wave width of your wave function ground state becomes smaller, you can record the width of the wave packet as function of some parameter. And I don't know what is your parameter. And record how parameters create a stronger or smaller localization. Okay? So what controls size? Maybe dielectric constant in surrounding media, which will screen and make all the direction smaller. We'll discuss it, but start thinking on this notes. Okay, that's so here are your projects. So for Elsa it's electric field, for Sam it is distance, for Melody. I will help everyone. I will try to help equally this lab, but Melody will be primary client because it's a little
Help. I need help.
Your train needs to part in the right direction.
so there. If the parameters of ground and excited state are fixed, right, and one induces the bond breaking just by excitation, what can one change, right? It looks like single run. But there is a beautiful thing. So if the molecule is placed into intense laser field, after it is excited, it will be de-excited back. and then the wave packet will start moving in the opposite direction. Then can be excited again and de-excited back. So, and there is a time delay, sometimes called time Rabi, for the name of the scientist, between these events of excitation and de-excitation, and making this Rabi period, Rabi frequency shorter or quicker, one can induce slower or quicker decomposition of a molecule, so one can control. And this is a hypothetical parameter for Melody's project. For Patricia, her project is not easy, but I think the value of coupling between vibration of a molecule and electromagnetic field. So to see how the eigenstates and how the dynamics depend on the value of coupling, which in your current code it is like lambda parameter. Eva, I think Eva's project is the most complicated, but from the organization way to organize, from intellectual way how to partition, your project is the easiest one, because you can just change value of direction of initial momentum and see response of your reaction on this. Like basically you create different temperature or bombard your catalyst with reactant from different angles and see how the products react. Okay, so just initial values of momentum, px, py.
That's what I'm changing.
Yes. For Fred, I have a very fresh idea, which I'm not 100% sure, but if over time Coulomb in the R1 minus R2 in atomic units, it doesn't have any factors, so like charge 1, charge 2, which will be also ones. But we do have 1 in regular units, 1 4 pi epsilon naught, and here we also have 1 over epsilon. What is this epsilon?
Isn't
Electric field.
Electric field is like square E capital, and this little epsilon, you probably need to take
That is the electric constant.
Wow.
dielectric?
That was so good.
right? Like E naught is the electric constant of a vacuum, and E naught is the electric constant of a media. If you do your reaction in solvent, it polarizes around molecules and shortens, makes Coulomb interaction bigger. So by varying this epsilon and resetting the Coulomb interaction, it means redoing the same experiment in different solvents. And I think it is very chemical way that can be even compared to experiment.
Breathe.
That does help quite a bit.
Okay, and I think the rest, here is something that would fit mostly to Eva,
Yes.
but like full chart.
That this
If
applies to me.
more than to anyone else.
Okay.
Like if you have your data, one can feed it into Arrhenius law and extract the activation energy. I do not guarantee that this reaction has well-defined activation energy, but it's something to try after all data are ready. And here are the questions. When data are ready, you just go over these questions and answer them in writing, and then it will be basically done case. I think we need to depart, and I will comment at the beginning of the lab a little bit more. Okay. Are we focusing? Stop sharing. Are we focusing on?
Samuel.
Meeting is done.